but we're here again with game time with Doc, Lurch, and Greg. Greg's back with us after a couple weeks hiatus,
Hello.
and we were having a few technical difficulties getting his sound working just right. That's part of the reason we're running just a minute or two late. Let's see. Still waiting for his cam to come back up.
It's not?
No. It's just got that.
Yeah, I see him on cam.
That could be me then. That could be me.
You want me to turn it off and on again?
Yeah, try turning the cam off and on again. Because that could...
Okay. Off.
And then...
And back on.
Back on. And see what happens. We're just full of technical difficulties this week. We haven't had Greg for a while, and so the whole system's trying to be in rebellion because of that, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and reboot my Discord real quick. I'll be right back, guys.
Okay.
All right.
There we go. I can see everybody now.
Can you see Greg now? Yay!
I can see Greg now. And
I'm wearing my henchman shirt that I don't even know why I have a henchman shirt since I'm not a henchman. I'm staff. But
yeah, but you got the shirt.
This is game.
Okay, well, let's see. We're going to start with a real quick sound check, and then get my chat monitor up. So check 1, 2. Oh wait, let me refresh this page because it's not showing us broadcasting yet. It's thinking. All right, yeah, there we go. So check 1, 2, check 1, 2. So check 1, 2, check 1, 2. So check 1, 2, check 1, 2. 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 We got a heck of a rhythm going.
And do a Mario sound.
We got a heck of a rhythm going. I think we should take it on the road and then run it over. No.
That does sound like what my music career would be. Just run it over in the road.
It's like take this stuff on the road and run it over because we just call ourselves the roadkill. All right, welcome back to Game Time with Doc, Lurch, and Greg. And let's see, make sure I can see everybody on my window. There we go. All right. We've got a lot to show you today because we've got Greg back, of course. We've got a full load, more than a full load, coming from Lurch today. And I've got a couple of quick topics and a blast from the past, as usual. So we've got a few things going on. And
and I think my first 2 tabs are new game announcements that I think I'll lump together as one subject. I'll just kind of carry over into the next game.
Right.
And then treat the other 2 tabs as for new subjects. How's that work?
Okay. I'll just let me know when I'm shuffling them because I've already kind of organized them a little bit. Okay. I know I'm going to probably move Greg's. For sure. I think I have his set first, but if it's the only thing, I'm going to put it somewhere in the middle a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Just to let people know who we are real quick, we're part of Eclectic Endeavors. We're actually some of the board members there. The group under the Springfield Regional Art Council that puts on Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo and the Picnic at the End of the Universe, as well as sometimes some other activities throughout the Ozarks involving the nerdier pastimes. The main current thing we've got going live is every 3rd Wednesday of the month. You can come in and see our own Greg here live at Holdfast Brewing Company for board game night and puzzle challenge, where the bar actually hosts a puzzle challenge where they give everybody pretty much the same puzzle and they race to see who can put it together fastest by teams. But Greg also brings some casual, quicker board games and card games to teach people out, bring them into the fold, and introduce him to the game without hitting him with anything too heavy. So on that Wednesday of the month, he is not here with me and Lurch, and we kind of handle the show by ourselves. But Greg is basically out live on location, so we get that instead. And the whole goal of our group is to further the educational side of these various hobbies and pastimes, because I mean there's actually careers in it now. People who are making props and stuff here in town for conventions might later on find themselves working for LucasArts or Industrial Light and Magic or Jim Henson Studios. There's all kinds of things that they could be working for. People who are dealing with like Springfield Regional Theater and Improv could actually end up going to major improv locations and getting a job in improv acting, or maybe even being in the next Whose Line Is It Anyway? Who knows?
In fact, I don't want to give out a name for the individual, but we all know an individual that's a member of our group who just got hired on over at Warner Brothers.
That is right. That is true.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very proud of them.
Very proud of them.
Extremely proud of them. And it's like less than 20 days until they leave for California, last I heard.
Yeah.
So
something like that. Yeah, they're working remotely at the moment. They've already started working remotely, and then they'll be relocating out there in a few weeks.
Yeah. Now we're not gonna, like I said,
so exciting news.
We're not going to share the name right now, at least till like if she gave us I might have given some of that away, but you never know. Unless they give us permission to do so. But just know that our hearts go with them, and all of our best of luck. And we're so proud of them entering the industry, and especially with a big name like Warner Brothers.
Huge.
That's a huge success. That's a dream job. I mean, that'd be like going to work for Disney right now. Disney, Warner Brothers, two biggest ones in nerddom, and they've got one of them
on their Facebook page, on their announcement about the job. I think I posted a picture of like saying something along the lines of, breaking into the films industry, and it was like an image of like Superman bursting through a wall or something.
That's right. And of course me,
Warner Brothers being a WB hero, WB character, I mean.
And me being pretty much an
talk this week.
Equal DC to Marvel kind of guy. I don't have an actual 100% preference where a lot of people lean more to one or the other. I like them both for different reasons. So I'm just as proud as if they'd gone to work for Disney. I mean, if in fact more so, because the mouse is taking over, and it'd be nice to see some more, good stuff go to WB for a while. But we're going to get going now, get started. We're going to try not to go over too much this week. So we're going to get our first topic out of the way. Let's see. I want to start with, how about Kirby first, which will be one of Lurch's topics. So where's my mouse disappeared to? Oh, God. There's
as I mentioned last week, on Thursday of last week, there was a Nintendo Direct, which is where all my information is coming from. Everything I'm talking about today that I'm adding for stories are things that were shown at Nintendo Direct. One of them being this new Kirby video game called Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which I will say, when I first heard they might be doing a Kirby game announcement, I wasn't too thrilled. I'm not the biggest Kirby fan. I have a really close friend who's a huge Kirby fan.
I love Kirby.
However, I was watching the trailer for this. And me personally, I was getting some Super Mario Odyssey vibes. It's a full 3D Kirby game, which apparently they haven't had one since GameCube, maybe older. I forget what it was.
The one with the yarn.
I don't think it was the Yarn one. I think it was before that. I think it was either an early GameCube or late 64 game, but I think it was like 2002 GameCube. Anyway, so this is apparently the first full 3D Kirby game we've had in ages. Some people are describing the setting and stuff to look kind of like a Kirby-ized version of like The Last of Us in terms of the setting, because it looks like you're in like an abandoned city with like overgrown plants and stuff. Yeah, this is the first time a Kirby game has caught my attention to be really interesting looking, and I'm going to be keeping a closer eye on it. It's announced for spring of 2022. It's curious that prior to the direct, they said that the direct is going to be mostly focused on things coming out in this winter, and then it feels like most of the things that they announced, a lot of the games they announced was spring 2022 or just sometime in 2022. Anyway, so yeah, if you are a fan of 3D platformer games, even if you're not a big Kirby fan, take a look at this, see if it catches your attention like it did mine. I know Kirby fans are going to be all over it, but if you like Super Mario Odyssey, take a look. I think you'll be surprised by what they're doing here with this game.
Well, I really
And then let's go ahead and click over to our other tab, the second tab I gave you.
Well,
did you have anything to say about Kirby?
Yeah, I think that as far as Nintendo goes, the cute little characters is like their niche market. They do cute characters better than just about anybody. Spyro the Dragon, Crash Bandicoot, Kirby. Those are all like Nintendo franchises that really do well. So, and Kirby is like one of their signature guys for that.
They are known very much for their cutesy kind of characters, but the main character of our next game is actually a really sexy witch with guns. Bayonetta 3 is the next game that I was wanting to talk about. Here we go. They first announced Bayonetta 3 back in, I think it was summer of 2017, and we haven't heard anything about it since then until last Thursday, where they showed a pretty lengthy video showing gameplay footage and cinematic footage. I was getting some like Godzilla vibes out of some of it. You got these big summon creatures that can fight beside you, or to me, from my eyes, because they didn't explain a lot. They just kind of showed stuff. But as I was watching it, it almost looked like you were controlling Bayonetta herself on the ground, doing like fight moves or dance moves that were then correlating to her summoned monster that's giant fighting against the other giant monster. But there's like all kinds of insane stuff. You had monsters like, there's a part where you're the monster like surfing on the side of buildings, and while the buildings are like curving like they were from the Doctor Strange movie or Inception or something.
Kind of gives me Power Rangers.
Yeah, vibes. This was kind of like a little bit, yeah, a little bit. This is being made by Platinum Games. It's kind of like if Devil May Cry was led by a sexy witch whose outfit was made out of her magical hair, then and can summon monsters. It's a wild series of games, and this new one doesn't look. This game looks even more over the top than I know from the first two games.
So the artwork is sweet. I love this like magic band here.
Yeah, the game looks too good to be a Switch game. I'm not gonna lie. Like whenever I was watching it in motion, I was like, this looks too smooth and too good for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it looks like something that Xbox or PlayStation would come out with. Very, very PlayStation-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's Nintendo Switch, Nintendo exclusive.
Wow.
She's got guns in her shoes. So she's like doing cartwheels and shooting things and sending off magic and summoning monsters. It's gonna be a wild time. 2022 as well. I don't think we have a narrower range than that. There was also this mysterious character that shows up at the very end that slashes the date in half, or slashes the year 2022 in half. There's been a lot of speculation of who that character could be. Some speculate that he kind of looks like Virgil from Devil May Cry. Some say he looks like the main protagonist for a canceled game from years ago called Scalebound. Which I was looking forward to Scalebound before it got canceled. It's a game where you control dragons. So, or a dragon anyway. You play a guy who has a pet dragon. Anyway, I'm getting off topic now. But yeah, these are there's a bunch of other games they announced. There's a number of other games that they showcased, but these are the two that caught my attention the most.
Wow.
So we got Sexy Crazy Rockin' Witch and Cutesy Kirby in the 3D world. Those are the two new things that got my attention. Of course, they showed Metroid Dread, which I'm going to be getting in October. And they showed, it's Splatoon 3, which that one doesn't interest me much, but for Splatoon fans, I hope you get what you're... it sounds interesting, like they're doing more with the storyline with that one. Than previous couple of games from the sounds of it. Some return of mammals are coming, mammalians. I guess mammals don't exist in the world of Splatoon. Again, I'm not a Splatoon fan, so I can't tell you a whole lot on that front. But that's what I was reading online, is there's no mammals in that world. And that's something new that they're bringing in. Anyway, I think that's about all I got to say about these two, about the big new game announcements, and then I'll come back to other Nintendo news a little bit later.
Okay. Well, then let's go on to my next one, and then after that, we'll go ahead and do Greg's for this week.
Yep.
And let's see, I'm going to go to... Oh, right. For those... Some of you may recognize this guy on the screen here. He's Michael Rosenbaum, who was, of course, Lex Luthor in Smallville. And he's got himself a podcast over on Apple Podcasts where he goes and he talks to celebrities. And he was brought to my attention because somebody posted a video of him talking to Stephen Amell from Green Arrow fame. And one of the questions, of course, he started out with is like, would you consider getting into another superhero project, or especially even reprising your role as Green Arrow? And, these are the kind of things us nerds, we eat that stuff up. The Arrowverse, even though Arrow didn't turn out to become the most popular of the Arrow shows, it was the one that launched the Arrowverse, and it still has an important part in a lot of our hearts. And it did introduce a lot of great characters. Flash, of course, got its introduction in Arrow, as did Sarah Lance and the Atom. So, we all remember it quite fondly. And it's interesting because, that's DC products. And Rosenbaum was Lex Luthor from Smallville, another DC product that even had some cameos in Crisis, although Rosenbaum himself did not. But his arch nemesis Clark did. Tom Welling.
Yeah.
So
that version of Superman, yeah.
Yeah. Rosenbaum, of course, he's a great actor. You don't see as much of him nowadays because his main focus is voice acting. He's doing a lot of voice acting right now. But he's got this little podcast he's done, and if you look at some of the videos in the podcast list, I mean, he's Joe Troglio, he's talked to Jay Marsters, John Wesley Shipp, Lamorne Morris, Stephen Amell, Neil McDonough, Amanda Kloots.
You left us on the cliffhanger there. What was Stephen Amell's answer about playing the superhero role again?
I mean, I don't want to keep you guys from actually going in and watching it and getting your stuff yourself, but he did basically say, first off, he said that if he had been invited to do so, he would not say. However, he did say that a short, like, mini-series thing, like something that would come out on, like, Netflix or HBO Max or even the CW, but just a short thing, not a full, like, 12 to 24 episode season, but maybe some like a 6 to 9 episode short, he would be interested in, or like some kind of cameo. So he's up for that. So if nothing else, he might show up for like a flashback episode, or an alternate version, or him playing a different character kind of thing. So he'd be interested, but he doesn't want to go back to full time, and at least not in the Arrowverse. And kind of from what it sounded like, it doesn't sound like he wants to go full time into another superhero role. Period. He wants to stretch his wings and try something else out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's doing that wrestling show now.
He's doing that what?
He's doing a wrestling TV show now called Heels.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stephen Amell is still, he's a great actor. His brother was the actor that played the original teen part of Firestar in the Arrowverse. He also was the lead character in the short-lived TV series The Tomorrow People. So it's another one of them acting families, and they're both pretty good actors. And then I think he also did one of those Liberty Mutual commercials.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he did. But there's so many people that are are interviewed by him, and these are some great people like Emil Hirsch, Chris Sullivan. I remember. There you go. Laura Vandervoort, which of course was Supergirl in Smallville.
Yep.
Walker Keegan, Seth Green. Hey, can't mess with Seth Green.
Yeah.
Maggie Lawson, Supernatural Sebastian Roche. Supergirl's David Harwood. Of course, that's our Martian
Manhunter.
Yeah.
Robert Englund.
Charisma Carpenter, which of course is Cordelia Chase from Buffy. All great stuff. Howie Mandel, Sean Austin from Lord of the Rings, and so many other things. Sean Austin's been in like literally everything. So he's interviewing quite a few great actors, and Robert Englund he's Robert Englund. What else can you say about him? He's like our horror flagship guy.
Yeah.
So if you want to go subscribe to the channel, it's called Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum over on YouTube, or you can find it in Apple Podcasts. And a new episode drops every Tuesday. So definitely something to check out if you want to get a fix of Michael Rosenbaum again, and see what some of the other actors in the various shows that you love might be up to or contemplating. Especially, like I said, it looks like he's picking a lot of actors specifically that are in superhero type roles, which is of course where we really fell in love with him.
Yeah.
To my mind, for my money, he's the best Lex Luthor we've had. Bar none. I love him as Lex Luthor. I mean, nothing against Lex Luthor and Supergirl. And he's doing a great job. And Gene Hackman was a little bit more comedic than truly Lex, where Rosenbaum was a sympathetic character you really got to love and hate at the same time.
This might give me some hate, especially since I'm a big Superman fan. I personally think that the Gene Hackman Lex is the worst Lex we've had.
For a lot of ways,
in live action,
because he didn't portray the true evil genius of Lex Luthor. He was also more of the amoral evil kind of Lex Luthor. And if you were a devotee of the comic books and the graphic novels and stuff that did come out for Superman, Lex was not in and of himself evil. Yes, he was a megalomaniac. yes, he was one of the smartest men on the frickin' planet, and some say the universe. But he wasn't a lot of what he wanted to do. He wanted to take charge because he thought he would be better for everybody. He didn't want to do things necessarily the way Gene Hackman did them. Gene Hackman laughed as the world burned.
We can go on about Superman and Lex Luthor for hours.
But yeah.
I think it's sidetracked too much off of that, but yeah.
Check Rosenbaum out. It's definitely worth it, I think, and we'll be keeping tabs on what he's doing in his career as time goes on. I'm going to go ahead and now switch it over to Greg's one topic for the week, which is a mental health topic. Dr. K.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Sorry I don't have much to go with this week, but the last couple of weeks have either been work, play, or planning for my sister's wedding next month, so there hasn't been time for anything. But I have been trying to keep my head above water, which is a segue into this topic. Dr. K, who I've talked about before on the show, he's still doing several weekly Twitch streams, still putting up videos on his YouTube channel, talking to other Twitch streamers, discussing specific topics like why ADHD is linked with addiction, or why to favor therapy versus coaching programs like his own. In fact, a testament to how professional he is and how much he wants to help people. There's time where he explicitly says, no, under these circumstances, my program is not for you. You should seek a clinical therapist for whatever that subject is. But recently, he released a guide to mental health. It is 3 modules. They can be bought individually for $20, or you can buy the full bundle for $60. I wish I could share my screen in a way that could cover the central viewing area here, because it kind of looks like the Lurch, what did the level up the sphere grids from Final Fantasy X? It kind of looks like one of those.
Oh, I love the sphere grid.
Yeah. You start from the center, you pick, it's almost a choose-your-own-adventure scenario. You pick what you want to focus on, anxiety, meditation, or depression. Those are the 3 modules. And there are some overlaps, so you can cross over from anxiety to meditation at a certain point, depending on your choices, and your choices are based on what interests you and what is of benefit to you. I'm a few videos into the anxiety module, and looking at the sphere grid, as it were, I could move on up to responses to anxiety, or I could move into Vedic psychology, which is in the meditation area, and get a better sense of one or the other, depending on which is useful to me. It gives a lot of flexibility for how you want to advance in your journey. Sorry, my mind just went completely blank.
That's okay. I'm bringing something up for everybody. There's the sphere grid.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that. I could screenshot. I could screen share so that the other people in our conversation can see it, but it wouldn't show very well on.
Well, Discord. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on the stream.
Yeah, on the stream.
Well, if you screen shared, it would create yet another window. Cool, I think would throw everything off for a minute. But I could probably make it.
Yeah, we don't want that.
It's something we're going to have to experiment with doing that in the future. We don't want that, though.
But
we're going to experiment with doing that in the future, but not right now.
Maybe, but what I was trying to get to was they're very consumable videos. They're all around the 10-minute mark, so it's not like you have to. It's not like watching one of his live streams where it's 2 hours of having a conversation with one person or some big long college lecture. It's a series of courses that you can consume at your own pace.
Bite size.
I'm on the Discord server for Healthy Gamer. Some people binge the entire mental health guide in one day. I'm taking my time, obviously, but it's there when I need it.
They're bite-sized morsels. The only thing I have problem with this is the bundle. He doesn't give you any discount for getting it all free, so it's almost not like worth saying the bundle. You can just buy them individually.
I agree. He did a $50 pre-order incentive, but once the pre-order time was done, once the release date hit, then it went to this. I have a hunch that there'll be sales again.
Or throw in a little extra video or something.
And their program also does counseling. Yeah, and they also do coaching. There's one-on-one coaching, which I think is full up, and group coaching, where it's one of the coaches trained by him talking to, I don't know how many, I want to say a dozen people at once. So there are options.
Nice. Just as a segue, since you weren't here
or if that's up your alley, then watch some of his YouTube videos, take notes like I do. I have a notebook full of psychology notes, and take what you can get, because they're there to help.
Well, as an aside to this, you weren't here for the last 2 weeks, but I think it was 2 weeks ago that I introduced an app as one of my topics, and it was called Endeavor RX. That was specifically endorsed by the FDA and stuff to counsel people with like social anxiety and other disorders as a way to focus and everything. It was one of the, people have been using video games and stuff to focus children for a long time now, but this is one of the first gaming app specifically developed for that purpose that was out. And so we do think about mental health in the gaming industry, and there are board games and card games and role-playing games that are all used in different mental health capacity. I've used Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, to socialize autistics and people with social anxiety disorder, most of my life. Even so far as up to and including the clinical level of using it with people that are severely on the spectrum. And so mental health is a concern for everybody.
Yeah, and Dr. K's core audience is gamers. He leans a lot of his material to catering to those kinds of issues. So that's excellent.
Yeah.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, so check out Endeavor RX when you get a chance. If you actually scroll back into our private chat, I think I put a link there for Lurch, so you could probably just grab it right off of that too.
I think I found it, but I'll check the chat to double check.
Okay, great. But yeah, that's some great stuff, because anything we can do to help the mental fortitude and health of our gaming community at large is great, especially when you consider such negativity out there as the teen suicide rate and acts of violence in areas. And often it used to be blamed on things like video games and violent movies and stuff, when we can actually come to find out by mental health professionals that these games and stuff can add a bit of catharsis and actually lessen the acts of violence and actually get people to think outside the box before they just respond.
He did a video just recently, just a week ago, called Psychiatrist on Why World Mental Health is Getting Worse. It was an interesting discussion, because apparently physical medicine has been trending upwards in terms of accessibility and sophistication, but somehow mental health is trending downwards globally.
Part of that is the over-obsession with pills. I think we want to throw a pill at everything first instead of actually getting to the heart of the matter, because if you sit down and talk to a patient for a little while, you can often find that there are activities that can mellow them out a lot more than a medication, or in combination with the right medication can mellow somebody out. But they want to do things like just give our children Ritalin in buckets. And that's not the way to handle it. And that's why a big part of our mental health has gone downhill. Okay, so next, let's see. We're not ready for me again yet. Let's see.
Mario icon, a new Nintendo Switch Online that helps you find the tab.
Let's see. This one? No, this is the...
that's the one. Okay. Yeah, Nintendo. It says Nintendo 64.
Yes.
So, Nintendo Switch Online is getting an expansion pack. Basically, that's what they're calling it. The Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. They're going to be adding Nintendo 64 games and Sega Genesis games, which is the part that surprised everyone the most, the Sega Genesis being added to it. It'll have an additional cost, but no one knows how much that's going to be. They said they'll be announcing that soon.
That's what I was already looking for.
But this expansion pack comes out in October.
Late October, yeah.
So the expansion pack comes out late October, so we don't have long to wait. They have like a bundle of games that are going to come out, day one with it. It'll be like Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Win Back, Mario Tennis, Dr. Mario 64, and then I think Sin and Punishment, I think was the last one. Of N64, and then
Yoshi's Story.
Yeah, and then we got I think 14 Sega Genesis games as well. And then with more coming out soon after, they're going to be in... There's been, for N64, one of the biggest surprises they announced was they're going to be having, down the line, they're going to be putting out Banjo-Kazooie, which is owned by Microsoft. It was originally an N64 game, but Microsoft currently owns Rare.
Right.
And so no one thought we was going to see any Rare titles if they did an N64 thing. But we're getting a Rare title. So that opens up the doors for potentially getting other Rare titles that Microsoft owns, like
Diddy Kong Racing.
Exactly. Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, 007. So it's a really great start.
Well, it's got some of my favorites.
I don't imagine it'll cost a whole lot.
I mean, we've got Castlevania, the Dolphin, Golden Axe, absolutely love that. Onimusha, Phantasy Star 4, Shinobi 3. I mean, these are some great games. And that's just...
Streets of Rage 2.
I saw that screenshot. That looks good.
But, they also announced Majora's Mask will be coming soon to it as well. A lot of good stuff. Now, for anyone that doesn't remember, the current plan costs $20 a year. And then it's going to be, you can upgrade, then you can get the expansion pack that has an undisclosed cost, but shouldn't be too bad. And then on top of all this, you can see the pictures at the bottom. They're also releasing new wireless controllers that are designed after the N64 and the Sega Genesis for the Nintendo Switch to run on these apps as well. So you'll be able to play with an actual N64 controller or Sega Genesis controller, or modern remakes of them rather, that are wireless to play your classic games on the Switch.
It's 100,
and
it also includes 100
multiplayer games,
classic games. Yeah,
NES and Super NES.
Like matches in Tetris 99 and Pac-Man 99.
Yeah. So that's you'll also be able to play games online like Mario Tennis and Mario Kart 64. You can play online multiplayer, 4-player online multiplayer,
which would be the optimum way to play something like Mario Kart. I think that would be optimum. I mean, 4 of you sitting around a couch with a 4-way split screen is even if you got a great big TV. Now, on the other hand, you could get 4 or more players sitting around and playing over the internet, where each person's screen is dedicated to that driver, and that would be so much more of an intense experience. I think for everybody.
I'm not sure how. You mentioned that. I'm not sure how the online multiplayer fully works yet until it comes out. They just promised online multiplayer. It would be. I'm hoping that's how they do it. I'm hoping that they update it so that it's got, your full screen is your cart. Because, I'm now picturing it. What if they didn't do that part and they just made it 4-way split screen still for everybody to see on their own online stuff?
That would kind of suck because then they would not be using all of their potential. And of course, classic Zelda.
Right. It's not the way we would want it, but it would be funny if that was what they did. It'd be terrible. It'd be stupid, but it'd be funny.
Stupid's the word for it, yeah.
Yeah, this was huge. I'm definitely getting this. I don't know how much it's going to cost yet, but I'm telling you today I'm going to get it.
This one I might be tempted to get because it's not going to probably have a really high price point. If they only charge $20 a year for it right now, I don't see them more than doubling the price. So
as it is to have cloud storage and over 100 NES and SNES games, I think they said over 100. I don't know if that's an accurate count. Anyway, for their current list of NES, SNES games plus Pac-Man 99 and Tetris 99 and online gaming and cloud saves, the current package for all that's $20 a year. Adding in 64 and Sega Genesis, I don't imagine them raising the price by a lot to add that on there.
At most, a total of 50. At most, a total of 50.
We'll see.
And then you're looking at the wireless controllers are looking probably going to be in the $30 to $50 range too. So
the controllers, they announced the prices for. The controllers are $50 each.
I said 30 to 50. So if you get 50 for the controller, and if you end up paying 50 a year for the entire bundle, it'd be worth it. It's a $100 investment, but you got a whole year's worth, and then you only have a recurring of the 50. You don't have to pay for a new controller every year, unless you use the shit out of it.
Unless you're playing Mario Party on 64, you got to replace that controller every 4 months.
Right. Or you're playing a button mashing.
I don't know if you spent any time on that. No, it's not the button mashing. It's rotating the goddamn analog stick for the rolling your bubble or those mini games. You got to rotate that. You got to rotate the analog stick so fast that you blister your hands. N64 Mario Party is the only game to make me bleed almost every time I play it.
You put blood, sweat, and tears into that game, boy.
Yeah, and I would still sometimes lose out of randomness.
All right, let's see now.
That game starts wars.
Okay, let's go on to our next subject here, which is we're not going to go to your last one yet, Lurch. Let's see. So we're going to go to the new Dungeons and Dragons one. There we go. Okay, this one's one of mine. Its new Dungeons and Dragons book has been spotted online, kind of like a safari thing. Let's get rid of that pop-up thing there. Wizard of the Coast plans to release a new Dungeons and Dragons book in January 2022. Amazon just posted a listing for the book, but they are not telling us what the title or anything is. But it's going to be retailing at like $170. Okay, which means we're looking at some major book, like something box set worthy.
Could $170?
$170. $169.95. Yeah, so a lot of the hype online, people are thinking that it's going to be a part of their big thing that's coming out for the upcoming 50 years of D&D, which will be in a couple more years, in 24. So this is part of that ramp up, but this is probably going to be like some kind of maybe a compilation book that includes all 3 of the core books into it, plus some extras and a history of the game maybe, or it could include some mega dungeon information and an entire run of one of the old modules converted into 5th edition, or a huge tome of new monsters. It could be anything. But I mean, with a $170 price tag, oh my God, you know it's going to be in the realm of one of those, either a box set, an amount of information, or it's going to be like leather bound production quality, suitable for a bookshelf, kind of thing, for like a bookshelf in a literary library type thing, with leather binded cover and gold leaf. Which, because like I said, the $169.95 is like the same price in his current box sets containing all 3 core rule books. But those box sets usually have the 3 rule books plus the DM screen, plus a couple other extra things for the $170. The Curse of Strahd premium was $100 box set. So this is, and they're not leaking any information yet. They just say that it's going to be a brand new D&D book. But brand new, though, that could mean a new compilation. It could mean it could be the long-awaited introduction of Planescape, which is a huge anticipated campaign setting for Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Planescape, but I know so many Planescape aficionados that would love to see a big book of Planescape come out. Same thing's true with maybe a Dragonlance book, or Dark Sun even. So, because there's some of the old campaign settings that people have been chomping at the bit to get a chance to do in 5th edition. Any one of those might be in this book. This is like a big freaking white elephant present that we're just sitting in the corner like a white elephant. You're waiting to open the ribbon and see what it is. And we won't know until January of next year. And it's near the end of January. Although they'll probably start leaking some of the information by the turn of the year. But this is a big thing for us RPG nerds, especially as D&D RPG nerds. Because this is going to be something. And they're just tantalizing us with just a hint, just a tease of what it could be. It's kind of like the teaser trailers they give you for movies and TV shows. They just give you barely a flash. You're like, wait, I want more. Give me more, goddammit. No. It's our drug. Like I just saw the teaser trailer for the next season of Legends of Tomorrow. They're teasing it. Yeah, they're teasing us.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It released like 3 days ago. But I looked it up and watched it, and it's just a real quick teaser. You have to look it up under Legend of Tomorrow Season 7 premiere.
Yeah.
Because if you just do like the 2021 premiere, you'll actually get the Season 6 premiere video from Comic-Con. Teaser trailers and all this stuff aside, this is like they're just putting bait in front of very rabid fish. We're rabid fish, nothing. We're piranhas. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. That's all I have to say about that one. I'm going to go ahead and go on to my flashback recommendation for the week, and then we'll do your last one, and then we'll go into the other media stuff, okay?
Okay.
So let's see. And my flashback is Warlock. Now this one, I almost didn't share this one because there's some people that are of the Wiccan cultural faith, and I don't want to like denigrate anybody's cultural choices. But we're talking about fiction here. We're not talking about appropriation or anything else. We're just talking about flat, fun fiction, and it stars one of our favorite nerdy actors who plays, among other things, great villains, Julian Sands. And Warlock is a classic series of movies. The first one, I fell asleep watching it earlier today, actually, because I was exhausted today. I had trouble even getting through Supergirl. I attempted like 4 times before I finally did it. 4 times I fell asleep and had to come and start and catch back up again. But Warlock, it tells the story of in the time of the Salem witch trials and stuff. The Warlock has been captured, and a witch hunter is there overseeing it. And right before he's able to be executed, he basically sells his soul to the devil, completely dedicates himself to the devil, and gets sucked through a time vortex to the 80s. Because that's where everybody wants to go, is the 80s. And so now he's trying to put together this magic and bring back the book, the Grand Grimoire, or the Dark Bible of Satan, that the Witch's Bible, that will unlock his power in the world and basically allow him to do all the things that the witches and warlocks had been wanting to do. Now, like I said, this is fantasy, so they typically throw that word warlock around without fully knowing what it means. Warlock originally just meant elder, and it was also a derogatory term before it was ever used to personify what they now classify as a male witch. But it was a derogatory term that was used to describe the more onerous of the king's tax collectors. They were called warlocks, just like you would call them dirty bloodsuckers. Yeah, because that's what we would call tax collectors now. They're dirty bloodsuckers. Well, back then, it was a pejorative called warlocks, and when the Christian faith was trying to stamp out all the other faiths' main supremacy in the New World, one of the things they did, besides appropriating all the different holidays and stuff and renaming them into their own, is they tried to use negative word associations, and they already knew this negative term that we threw around, so they also made that term the one they used to refer to a male witch or male Wiccan. So that by association, we already took our negative feelings towards the onerous tax collector, and we transposed those onto the elders, the male elders of the Wiccan societies. And so, but that's just a little etymology of the word. But in its most pure form, warlock just means elder. And that in and of itself isn't a pejorative at all. It's the other things that have been used throughout history that had made it such a negative thing. But a male witch in most Wiccan societies is called a witch, just like a female witch is. Most sects of Wiccans that I know, they just call the males and females the same, witch. Just to give you some history behind it. But this show is great. But the thing is, the witch hunter ends up getting zapped into the 80s as well. And so he's going around with the first girl that the warlock, Julian Sands, had encountered, because he put a curse on her that basically had her aging super, super, super fast. It was like something like for every hour of the day she aged a year or something of that nature. I don't remember. I fell asleep before they got into the numbers. But and it's not because it's not an interest. I fall asleep in front of everything nowadays. My chronic fatigue is killing me. I've fallen asleep in movie theaters during good movies. I've fallen asleep. So it's not a fault of the movie. But so he's going around with her because he's got to break the curse before she dies of old age. And it's using stuff like making a witch's flying potion by boiling the fat of an unbaptized child. They don't go into the graphics of killing the child, but you see him meet the child, then later on he has the potion. But, it's implied that he just slaughtered that unbaptized child to boil the fat, so it's kind of tangentially more violent than you expect. But it does it off screen. And stuff, and it doesn't get into hokey things like brooms and things like that. In this case, his flying is almost like hovering just above the ground, but at near super speed. He's almost like the Flash as he flies along. He's kind of leaned into it, so he's almost at like a not quite a 45-degree angle, kind of leaning in with his hand out like Superman almost, zipping around.
Yeah.
Very hokey kind of special effects, but it's kind of fun still. And Julian Sands is such a great actor that he gives such gravitas to the character. He's got that unique accent of his that really brings out the aristocracy of a character he's playing. Even if he's supposed to be playing like a peasant or a researcher or something, a bit of aristocracy still comes out in his voice, and it just colors his characters and makes him so vibrant. So this is my recommendation for the week. Is go back and watch the Warlock series. And the Warlock series is currently available on Amazon Prime, I believe it was that I watched it on. It was either Amazon Prime or HBO Max, but I think this one was Amazon Prime. So I'm trying to keep all my recommendations to things that you can find on Tubi, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, or like Hulu, because right now I don't have Netflix. And I'm not counting on people to have Disney Plus all the time. But we'll see what I have to recommend from the vault next week. We've got one more thing to really cover. Before we mention that, I do want to mention this is a big week for us, and we're going into the major movie season. Venom Carnage, Let There Be Carnage comes out tomorrow, basically. Addams Family 2 comes out this week. In just like 3 short weeks, Dune, the movie, comes out. There's so much stuff getting ready to come out, release now, that our media section of this show is going to probably half take over the show for a little bit soon.
We're sing the Dune song now.
Yeah.
Dune.
Or we're going to have to tack an extra hour on just for media, which half the time we go over by an hour anyway when media gets real heavy. So I'm just warning you guys now. There's so much media going on. I mean, we could even cover the first 3 episodes of Doom Patrol this week, although I must admit I didn't manage to make it through them all. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, the next thing is also in movies though, and this one is on Lurch.
Yeah. So they revealed they didn't have any footage yet, but they are putting out an animated movie for Super Mario Brothers from Nintendo. The casting is kind of insane. They got Anya Taylor-Joy, who played on Queen's Gambit, which I think I read that she won an Oscar or Emmy or something for that role, playing the voice of Princess Peach. And then things start getting crazy. We got for Mario, Chris Pratt.
Yes, oh my god. But I'm more excited about Bowser.
It's going to be weird hearing... Yeah, okay. So I'll keep going. Luigi will be voiced by Charlie Day, who, if you're familiar with him, he's one of the main guys. He's the little guy, Charlie, on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Bowser will be voiced by Jack Black.
Tenacious D, lead man himself.
Yeah, the singer of Tenacious D. Yeah. Donkey Kong will be voiced by Seth Rogen. The fucking stoner guy from, the 2010s comedy films.
And he was the Green Hornet. He was, a lot of things. But Donkey Kong, that also tells us Donkey Kong will be in the movie, which is great.
Yes. And also, Cranky Kong will be in the movie, voiced by Fred Armisen, who is, he always plays, like, odd characters, so that should be interesting. Kamek, who... Oh, right now I can't remember who Kamek is as a character. Who the heck is Kamek?
He's in Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, he's the one that keeps trying to kidnap the baby Mario. Okay.
That will be voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Toad. Here's a big one. Toad is going to be voiced by Keegan-Michael Key, who... Keegan-Michael Key is the other half, is half of Key and Peele, the sketch comedy show. He also did a really awesome impersonations of Barack Obama. Even was at a White House correspondence dinner playing the role of Angry Obama. Which is a brilliant piece if you have a chance to you haven't seen it. Look up Angry Obama.
Genius.
Yeah, Key and Peele is a genius series. And Angry Obama was Angry Obama just started off as a skit on Key and Peele. That eventually Obama himself ended up, I guess he liked the bit, and he got them to come on to do where real Obama would say some little bit of speech where he's keeping really calm about something that would piss him off, and then Keegan-Michael Key then is voicing Angry Obama. And how the real Obama would want what he really wants to say.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. This casting choice just kind of blows my mind, though. What it tells us for 100% sure is it's a comedy movie that's intended to be very funny, because everyone in here is a comedian, or everyone in here is known for doing comedy work, except for maybe Anya Taylor-Joy. I haven't seen The Queen's Gambit, so I don't know how funny it is.
Yeah, me either.
Is that the right title of this show?
Queen's Gambit, yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet either.
Queen's Gambit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then you got Sebastian Maniscalco.
She might be the only I don't know. Everyone in here whose names I recognize are all really funny people.
Looks like Charles Martinet is going to be one of the animators.
And they talked about that. They talked about how funny they are.
Is Charles Martinet going to be one of the animators?
Charles Martinet. Oh yeah. So Charles Martinet is in it, but we don't. He's a voice in it, but we don't know. They said he'll be playing various surprise appearances in the movie as a voice. Charles Martinet is the actual voice actor who plays Mario in the games. So they got the video game Mario voice actor in the Mario movie, but he's not playing Mario. Yeah.
but
maybe he'll be doing the incidental sound effects.
So the voice you hear when you hear Mario go, "Yippee!" or "It's me, Mario!" That's all Charles Martinet, who is in this movie, but not Mario.
It's a Mario!
Chris Pratt, the Star-Lord, is going to be Mario.
So you could have Mario arguing with Mario.
I don't know. It was It feels very random. I'm sure that they are putting a lot of work into it, though. They got a hell of a list of stars.
And Sebastian Maniscalco.
The one that amuses me most is.
Which
one that amuses me the most is Kevin Michael Richardson. What?
Kevin Michael Richardson, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is my sound not coming through?
No, you're fine. It's just a little bit of delay.
I hear you.
Okay. Richardson is the one that amuses me the most for two reasons, but they kind of overlap. Kamek, every time I've heard that character, like most of the Mario characters don't talk out loud, they just have word bubbles, but when he laughs, he's got this very shrill kind of almost generic witch sound. And Kevin Michael Richardson has kind of the opposite voice from that. He was also Goro in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list. He was Goro in Mortal Kombat, Captain Gantu in Lilo and Stitch, the Joker in the Batman, Prime 2 in Transformers: Revenge of something.
Yeah, he sounds like he would make a good Hammer brother. Not necessarily a good Kamek, but I don't know what they're going for, and he might have a lot more range than I'm aware of.
He's Dr. Hibbert on The Simpsons.
Oh.
Nice.
That guy. And then Sebastian Maniscalco, I'm looking him up.
Maniscalco,
He's kind of an Italian-looking dude.
I just did look him up. He was in that movie Tag, which was one of my flashback recommendations. He's been in a...
Yeah, I was going to say he was in Tag.
He was in the Nut Job 2 as a voice. He's been in a couple other things. Not a whole lot. He's only got 14 credits. And a couple of those are ones that haven't come out yet, including this movie. So he doesn't got a lot. I thought he looked familiar, but I wasn't quite sure where I knew him from. So I went and looked him up. But
yeah,
hey,
I mean, he had a small role in Tag as a pastor.
Yeah, the pastor.
It looks like.
Yep.
Pastor.
But this is a heck of a cast. I mean, like I said, I still want to see Chris Pratt as Mario arguing with Mario.
Yeah, with Charles Martinet Mario.
Yep.
Hey, this is a good plan. You're wrong.
I'm a Mario. No, I'm a Mario. Then you got Charles Day next to him saying, "Which one is a Mario?"
So, yeah. We'll see how this comes out. It's planned for December 2022 is its release. Nice. December 21st, 2022 for the United States.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that ends everything but our real media coverage. Now, a lot of times, this is about the time that Greg leaves us. Are you going to leave us early again today, Greg?
I will, but I'll try to stop by Holdfast Brewing tomorrow sometime just to hang out. And my next... Oh, that was something I needed to bring up.
Yes, go ahead.
I actually won't be doing the... I won't be doing the monthly game night next month in October because... as I alluded to previously, I'll be in St. Louis for my sister's wedding week.
That makes sense. Yeah,
so
if
I'll
you got
pass that along to them.
So if you got
and
a
maybe
wedding,
I'll reschedule something. But
it'd be great if one of our other guys could come in and just take it over for the week. But I wouldn't know who because me and Lurch will be here, and since I host this, I could. Plus, I still have to be real cautious about my exposure. With being immunocompromised. But But we might be able to get somebody to go and just present some board games. Might want to check with 417 Gamers to see if any of them want to come host it for the week.
Yeah, I'll see, because Rick Bagwell was asking me about it at Metagames last week.
Rick would be the one I would suggest as a stand-in. Just let him know that you're looking at like faster casual games and that you're going to be gone for the month, and you'd love to have him come kind of represent, and he could,
definitely.
He could pimp 417 Gamers at the same time. So that might be something. And are we to expect to see you tomorrow broadcasting? Or
yes. And as per the poll that I posted, because I finally figured out how to do that. Damn you, Facebook, and your new formats.
Damn you, Facebook!
But the vote went heavily in favor of Final Fantasy VIII, which I'm super excited for. I haven't played... FF8 was the first Final Fantasy I ever played, and I haven't played it since high school.
That's that one I haven't played. I played 7, 9, 10, 12, 14. I haven't played 8.
I played very little
on
of
the
8.
to-do list.
I played 8, but
it's not the best. 9 is better than 8 for my money. I think 9 is my favorite of all time, but 8 generally will always hold a place in my heart, and Squall Leonhardt is still one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters. I learned a lot about storytelling and characterization from him.
Yeah, and universally, I think the most revered of all the Final Fantasies is right before that at 7. 7 is still considered the absolute gold standard when it comes to Final Fantasy games. Although me personally, I love 10. I've always loved 10. But I like 7 too. I just like 10 quite a bit. So we will see you.
I haven't played all the Final Fantasies, but I've loved all the ones I have.
Right. Well, we will see you then, and for those who don't know, that's over at Queen City Cardboard here on Twitch. And then you can also look him up on Facebook, Queen City Cardboard or Greg Pullman. And we'll catch you next week, Greg. Maybe we'll we'll even do a Greg focus week if you can ever get a week with you got a whole bunch of topics. We can focus on your stuff for once since we don't see you all the time. Just do a big
if I can
one
find them.
Where me and Lurch just do a couple and you do the rest. Except for media. Of course, we'll still do the media at the end. All right. Well, yeah, that's the thing, because like you said, a lot of the ones you were going to do this week were like Kickstarters that all ended before the show came up. So
yeah, I noticed you beat me to the how to teach your cat to play RPGs or whatever it was.
Last week? Yes.
Yeah, that was an amusing one.
Yeah, I did that one last week. I thought you'd have been interested in that one. I was thinking of you when I pulled it. I was like, oh, I bet Greg wishes he hit this one.
The premise is good, and it's the best Kickstarter promo video I've ever seen.
It was pretty great. I love doing that little segment. I wish I was comfortable showing videos on our Twitch stream, but the DMCA rules are just getting so harsh that we just don't risk it anymore because we don't want to get dinged, even though they've loosened up some of the penalty process.
I would think that the Kickstarter promo videos from the Kickstarter page would be okay. They're probably not copyrighted, but I completely get the concern.
Well, the other thing you got to worry about is
they can have music.
That's the thing, is they may be using music that they've subcontracted.
Oh, good point.
That's not covered. That's usually what dings you on that kind of video, is the music. So just to be sure, we're going to keep not doing it until we hear something definite back from like Twitch saying, "Oh no, that's okay, you can do it." But that's okay. We still point people to the actual videos, which is good because they need to get views anyway.
Yeah.
And so
Google's easy enough to use.
Yeah, Google and YouTube is real easy. And a lot of times I'll post the video links in the channel if somebody wants to, and they can go watch the videos directly. And when someone asks who sent you over there, they can always just say it was us. But we'll catch you next week, Greg. And if we don't remember to say it beforehand, enjoy the wedding week in St. Louis, I think you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I certainly will. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Time to get into our media coverage.
Bye.
Bye. Time to get into our media coverage. Now, this part we separate from those other movies because this is the new stuff, and it's a lot of TV, and it's spoiler alerts. There are spoilers coming through in this show. We do not hold back.
All spoilers. Yeah.
Let me switch us over to the two host system real quick while I'm thinking about it, because I often forget to do that when we lose Greg, and I haven't had to do it the last couple weeks because Greg hasn't been here. Let me see, make sure we're all right. We're showing up good now. Okay, we're back to the media. Like I said, spoilers. We do not hold back. So if you want to watch it for yourself without the spoilers, time to turn to something else. Maybe check out one of the videos we referred you to instead. But we're going to start, as always, with the first show of the week. For us, in this case, it is Supergirl. Actually, Supergirl and Stargirl come out at the same time. But since Supergirl's further along in their series, and it's actually their last season, we'll start with them. This was an intense Supergirl episode. Of course, we know that Nixley, thank you. Nixley, them words are good. No.
Yeah.
Nixley.
Dude, earlier today, I was trying to say query retrieve, and I kept saying quarry retrieve over and over again. You know how embarrassing it is to be an IT guy and you're on a conference call with other IT people and you repeatedly say quarry retrieve?
Quarry instead of query? Yeah. Words are
good. Apparently I've been digging up rocks all day.
Words are good. I like words. Do you like words, George? No.
Thinking hard.
What?
I said thinking hard.
Thinking hard.
Yeah. This is why I don't do public speaking, right? Speaking is hard.
I do public speaking and still thinking hard.
These videos are private, right? Like no one else can see it but us.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
Girl. Intense episode.
Nixley was on the quest to find the totems, and the first totem is the totem of courage. Now, who are you gonna call when you're looking for totems of courage? How about a Kryptonian witch memory in the Fortress of Solitude? Because that's where Kara heads. So she downloads the memory engrams of the head witch of Krypton.
Yeah. Where the hell did that come from? Where did the witch memory crystal come from?
Well, you notice, in this case, she didn't have a preset crystal. They took a blank crystal, put it in, told them to load the information from, I guess, the databanks of the whole fortress, and then they played that crystal. I did notice that they were very different from, because in other Superman things, they had an already preset crystal that had all the details into it.
Yeah.
So this case, they made a point.
Have we had this happen before? Have we had them just download the consciousness of another Kryptonian for advice?
But they have said on many occasions that Jor-El included all the knowledge of Krypton into the Fortress of Solitude's matrix. So I guess this would count as all the knowledge of Krypton. I mean, how else would the Eradicator work if he didn't have a bunch of mental engrams of all these Kryptonians to put in the Eradicator?
Yeah. the Eradicator had their own, though, right? They didn't steal them from Clark.
Right,
I don't know.
But in the CW, but in the CW, they're stored among other things, and so
yeah.
So that means
that was the one thing that kind of irked me on this episode was they suddenly had the consciousness basically of a witch of
Krypton
to go to. And it was like, when did this go? When did this technology come about? Like, I mean, when did they have other people's? I don't know. Anyway,
they established the premise with Superman and Lois, though, when they said that all of the knowledge was stored, and that the engrams for the different Kryptonians had been saved. If they put a copy in Morgan Edge's Fortress of Solitude, I guess a copy made it into Clark's as well. And Kara just shares Clark's. She don't have her own.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
She should get one on a nice beach somewhere.
Yeah, that's where you think Kara would enjoy a nice beach. But that's the trouble with Solitude. Everybody wants to go to the beach. You don't get a lot of solitude.
No.
Anyway.
Lock the door.
So she's out for the Totem of Courage. So they went and they talked to the Witch of Krypton, who basically tells them that the only way to stop her, if you really are going to go get that yourself, she starts telling you the rules to use it. And she's like, well, we don't want to get it to use. We just want to get it to keep it out of her hands. And the best way to keep it out of her hands is to actually use it, I guess. So they do have to end up using it. What happens is the Totem of Courage happens to be in a museum in National City. and this totem, it just looks like a slingshot, and they call it like the slingshot of David. Even though, which is funny because David did not use a slingshot; he used a sling. That's a difference. Yeah. Slingshots are a much more modern thing. He used a sling, which is basically a thin ribbon of cloth that you tucked a stone into. Or if he was real fancy, it kind of was like a cup of like an eye patch that you put the rock into, and then you held on to the strings and let go of one side to let the rock go. It wasn't the slingshot.
Yeah. For this show, we got Bart Simpson's slingshot, only used by David against Goliath.
Do the Bart Yeah. So I didn't do it. Nobody told me. Can't prove anything. No. So they were really.
That looks like the Bart Simpson's slingshot, doesn't it? That he uses to
quite a bit
annoy people at school.
They were fucking with history because people don't know the difference between a sling and a slingshot. Now, we're gamer nerds. We know the difference between a sling and a slingshot because we've played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are history buffs, so we could tell you the origin of a lot of different historical weapons just because we're interested.
Yeah. I've read a book or two in my day.
Yeah, I've read a book or 1,000. Yeah, no problem.
You would think the writers of Supergirl would have read a book or two here and there too, but
this is what fit the story, so this is what they went with.
Yeah, it fits the story
a little bit of poetic license, I guess, although it wasn't very poetic. Anyway, so and the museum has got this exhibit, and there's like a coffee shop near the exhibit and stuff, and there's this one scientist there who's one of those mild-mannered, doesn't put herself out on a limb, a very low courage person, because we're dealing with the Totem of Courage. We have to have a lot of scaredy cats around so that we can really accentuate the courage part of this episode. And she's working on this project called the Bolt Project, which is the ability to harness lightning. And her partner, I guess, had decided it was too dangerous, so backed out of the project, which means she was losing her funding, and she's all pissed because she's losing her funding. Because, that's how all great supervillains are born, is you piss them off by taking their funding away.
Yeah.
And so Nixley shows up to steal the slingshot. I still can't call it the sling of David, but the slingshot. Yeah. And Supergirl and the Super Friends, which are now basically being referred to as the Super Friends quite openly by the leader of Catco. So it's pretty much established they're the Super Friends. And I like that, actually. But they show up to stop her.
And go with it.
They show up to stop her, and it ends up that the totem, the great and all-powerful totem, breaks. And Supergirl's got part of it, and Nixley's got part of it. And so both Nixley and Supergirl spend the episode trying to earn the power of the totem. And to earn the power, they had to go through what's called the gauntlet, which is why the episode is called The Gauntlet. And the gauntlet, the first and main thing you got to do in the gauntlet is, because while the gauntlet is not done, they don't get to claim the power of the totem. However, the fifth dimensional energy of the totem, focus on courage, leaks out to everybody who was around when it was broken. So all these people are getting so overbearingly courageous that they have no self-preservation instincts.
Yeah.
Like Alex is becoming the most fearless, run into danger person you can imagine, which is driving Kara insane. John Johns
there's
is so...
There's an iguana that gets turned into a brave dragon, and Alex is like, "Ooh, sweet, another dragon," and she just goes rushing in with a whip thing or whatever from her
electric whip. Yeah, her electric whip, and then Johns, he's always, his biggest fear has always been to be straight with people about his feelings and how he sees how they're doing and stuff. He doesn't always want to be real straight. He wants to talk around the objective and everything. But now he's just openly saying how proud he is of Alex, how proud he is of Kara. So he's not getting anything done because he's too busy being proud.
Look how brave she's being. Then he goes up to the dragon and tries to talk to it. He's like, "Listen, dragon, I understand you're probably frustrated, but you're kind of freaking people out. So, would you like to talk about what's bothering you in the dragon?"
He's like, all he's missing is a couch, and the cat, and the dragon's in therapy all of a sudden. Because that's what he's wanting to do. He's turned himself into a clinical psychologist. And that's just not John. And Brainy, his fear has always been to not be exact with his knowledge, to guess. And so he starts guesstimating. Math and figures and facts. And so he starts guesstimating everything subconsciously, and he doesn't realize it. And so, of course, everything's wrong because his species is no good at guessing. They have to have facts and figures because they're practically living computers. So, so Brainy is next to useless. He's miscalculated everything during the episode. And Kara keeps going through this gauntlet. Now, in the gauntlet, she's got to relive a moment when her courage was at the weakest and confront the thing that would have been the most important thing to confront at that time. And Nixie is doing the same thing, and she sees it as the moment when she did not stand up and kill her father when she got betrayed. And so she keeps killing her father, and every time it says, "You failed." It's like, what? But I know this is the thing. And she goes through and does it again. And Supergirl, it goes back to the day when she reveals herself as Supergirl, stops being Kara to save Alex in the plane crash. And, most people would legitimately think that that's probably her bravest moment, not her most fearful moment. They never determine what her most fearful moment should have been, and so we don't know for sure. But there's all kinds of speculation you can draw from this. It could have been her brave enough to not expose herself and let things happen as they may with Alex, because she had dedicated herself to not revealing her identity, and she broke that dedication. So that's my current theory of what she would have had to do is probably not save Alvin.
Exactly the same. It's to not crash the plane, to leave it be.
To let things fall as they may, and have the strength of will to live up to her conviction. On the other hand, Nixley then thinks that it's or her companion, the menagerie keeper, says, well, maybe it's to kill your brother. I mean, he did betray you and stuff. And she goes in and she's going to kill her brother, but instead she admits to her brother all of the love and faith and betrayal she felt, all of her feelings to her brother. And then she's like, yep, and I'm back and I failed. And then the crystal says, you've passed, basically. Well, the part of the slingshot says you pass, and it turns into a crystal. And it's because her greatest fear challenge was not letting her feelings show to her brother. That's the greatest fear that vulnerable. She had. Not allowing herself to be vulnerable in that ultimate vulnerable moment. See, which makes the totem of courage a really weird artifact on how it interprets things. But it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, because Kara did not do it, and she did, the Nixley's crystal is trying to call to Kara's part of it, that's now turned into a crystal too, and Kara grabs onto it, and she holds for dear life, and it's trying to get away. And Lana Luthor, she has this box that could not have contained the whole totem necessarily, but she thinks it might be able to be enough to contain the crystal. It couldn't contain all the fifth dimensional energy, but it could contain the crystal to keep it from flying over to Nixley. So they put it in the box. Unfortunately, as long as the two pieces of the crystal are not united under somebody's control, everybody's super courage keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And the lady who worked on the Bolt project is started to create a superstorm right over National City. And the anticipated release is going to be a lightning strike that's over 500 times as powerful as the biggest lightning strike they've ever had. And it would be enough to completely... It's basically a lightning strike equivalent of a nuclear blast in the middle of National City if it strikes. And so they go there and they try to stop her from doing it. And Kara tries to stop the machine, but unfortunately at this point, it's kind of in a chain reaction now, and the lady's still not wanting to stop it because she's suffering still from the overconfidence courage thing of saying, no, I can do it. You sound just like everybody else said I couldn't do it. I will show you, ha ha. Maha, ha ha, ha ha. Very Mandark moment. And then finally Kara breaks down and says, okay, Lana, let the crystal go. We got to let the crystal go so we can stop this super courage thing. Because John's still useless, freaking Brainy is still useless, everybody's still fucking useless. I mean, Alex is so brave, she's useless. In a way, she's useful, but in a way, she's useless because she keeps running right smack dab into danger, which becomes a distraction for Kara. But then they release the crystal. Everybody's courage levels go back to their normal levels. The scientist says, yeah, it's in a chain reaction now. There's no way the machine could stop it. If you had some way to build like a negative ionic drive system to absorb the energy, that would do it. And then there's like, okay, how fast would Kara have to fly around it at super speed? And then Kara's like, no, what if me, John, and you, talking to Brainy, all fly around it and do that? And it's like, excellent idea, I'll meet you there. And so they all do, because a lot of people often forget that, among other things, Brainy can fly, has super strength, is almost a low-key Kryptonian.
I think he can only fly when he wears his ring, right?
I think Brainy's one of the few of the Legion that can fly without the ring.
Okay.
But because he's a descendant of Brainiac, and Brainiac could fly in some iterations. Because in some iterations he looked like a giant fucking man-of-war goldfish or jellyfish with freaking tentacles and shit. And in others, like he was played by James Marsters in Smallville, and he could fly just like Clark was supposed to be able to fly. Except Clark didn't really fly until the very last season.
Yeah.
Except that's not absolutely true. When Clark was taken over by somebody or under the influence of red kryptonite, then he could sometimes fly.
Yep.
He just could never do it when he was good Clark.
Yeah.
So they ended up dispersing it, and Nixley got the first totem. So they ended with that. They know they're going to the next totem. Dreamer was almost completely out of this episode because her confidence had gone so sky high that she'd gone so deep in the dream realm that nobody could wake her ass up. So she slept through most of the episode.
Literally slept through the episode.
She had some part in the beginning and a very last couple lines in the end, and that was it. Because in the beginning, she suggested to the one British reporter that he go one place to see what was going on, because the Super Friends are probably going to be there as a tip. And at the end, he confides in her that he's going to see if he can get sequestered with the Super Friends, as basically doing a permanent ride-along with the Super Friends to really get in depth with their world. And it leaves it there, so we don't know what the Super Friends' answer is. Although, by the look on Dreamer's face, she's like, what did I do?
Yeah. Dreamer was in one other scene where, because she had to get infected by the courage stuff, she was at the museum when it got broken in half. When the slingshot of destiny got broken in half.
Yeah, that was her big moment before she went to sleep. And that's Supergirl for the week. I don't think she had any
dialogue there. I think she's just there.
No, she's just Supergirl. There. That's Supergirl for this week. Next is probably my favorite this season, Stargirl. Stargirl was an intense episode. Okay, we've talked about Eclipso's abilities in previous episodes, but in this episode, Eclipso used his ability to produce illusions and to undermine people's confidences in excessive ways. We started off with Our Man, and he answers the door at his house, and there's his teacher, the one that originally had kept him in detention, even though he had passed the test because she thought he'd been cheating. And then he convinced her he wasn't cheating by passing every other test that came up that showed he'd actually buckled down and started doing the work. So she showed up at his door with some college brochures and stuff telling him, you should go to college. That's where she reinvented herself. And you won't be held back by your past because you can be a new person in college. Which is really what part of the college experience is you get to be a new person. Like if you were the one that didn't fit in high school, you might fit in college because it's a little bit of a different standard in college of some things. some college experiences are just like high school. It just depends on the college and the person, I guess. But then his uncle shows at the door, and we all know his uncle's an asshole, but we haven't seen him in a few episodes. In fact, I don't think we've seen him since last season.
Dude, I forgot he had an uncle until this episode.
Well, yeah, you remembered he dented his uncle's truck, and then that's the last you really heard of his uncle from then on. When he first activated the Hourman powers. Then, after his uncle complained about that, you pretty much haven't seen him since. So, yeah, it's easy to forget. But his uncle basically drives the teacher off that says she's trespassing. Now, any other guardian, whether they agreed with him going to college or not, would have at least been fucking civil to his teacher. But no, this guy was just a beer-swilling asshole. And I'm not saying beer swilling in and of itself makes you an asshole. This guy just intensified with the more beer he took, I think.
Yeah.
And then he knocks the papers out of the kid's hand. So the last of that scene you see him is gathering up the papers for college.
Yeah, he tells the kid, he's like, you're never going to college. You're going to jail.
Yeah, you'll go to jail before you ever set foot in college.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and then next you see him walking in the woods with the burlap sack. And then he decides he is tired. Yeah. And he just all hits him at once. And this is when Eclipso's power is starting to get its hook into him, but not quite yet. But then he screams at the world. It
doesn't happen in this scene.
But he screams at the world, and then Solomon Grundy shows up. And then the next you see him sitting next to Solomon Grundy, who's got a big handful of apples that I guess were in the burlap sack. And he's tossing him a whole apple at a time into his mouth to eat them, because to him, apples are berries. Which is okay, because an apple is kind of a berry fruit. That's what they technically are, a member of the berry family. They're just really, really big berries. So he's like, pop, pop. And so he's pouring his heart out to Solomon Grundy, who he figures doesn't even understand him. And then Solomon Grundy actually puts his hand on his shoulder in camaraderie and gives him the very last apple so he can eat it. Which, for a beast like Solomon Grundy, giving away food, that's a major trust thing. So that's a very touching, emotional moment. And you get to see the boy and his dog moment with him and Solomon Grundy. Because Grundy's like his pet right now.
Yeah.
He's a barely...
He told a sad story about this dog that they used to have that was mistreated, and he pretended like the dog ran away, but he actually gave it to someone else in another town or something.
And then it was a whole different dog the next time he saw it because it had been loved. Yeah. A dog who's given love. Because that's an important message that's an underlying here anyway. Like, a lot of people automatically think like pit bulls and Rottweilers and stuff are just mean dogs. And you can't do anything with them. They're impossible. Bullshit. A dog reacts to its environment. If you give a dog love, all that dog will ever give you back is love. Dogs are some of the most loving companions in the planet. And so there is nothing more beautiful than a dog and its owner working together. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing probably worse out there than a dog fight.
Oh, yeah.
But
okay, so after the scene with Solomon Grundy in the woods, so Rick goes back to his car, and as he gets back to his car, he hears on the radio about another sighting of the bear, and people are concerned. The hunting association is concerned about this bear nearby because they got kids or whatever. And so now the hunting association is going to be hunting them down, and then a couple of trucks show up, and hunters get out, and they're running out into the woods trying to find this bear.
So he calls Courtney
Rick
and
runs
and
after
Pat.
Solomon and.
Well, first he calls
Pat to tell
Pat
him
and Courtney. He says, "Yeah, Solomon Grundy is being he's going to be hunted, he's going to be hurt, and we got to save him, which shows a complete reversal from last season because most of the season he spent dedicated to killing Solomon Grundy. And then, and that's the thing that Yolanda, I don't think, gets completely between like Solomon Grundy, who he almost killed and didn't, and Brainwave, who she did kill. Solomon Grundy is a mindless beast. So just like a dog, it's a matter of how you treat him. The Injustice Society used him as an attack dog, so he was just an attack dog. Rick is using Solomon Grundy as a pet. He's taking care of him, he's feeding him, he's keeping him out of town so he's not getting in trouble by breaking into restaurants and just eating their food. And so Solomon Grundy is becoming a more mellow individual. And it shows. So anyway, she calls them, but then we don't go back to Rick yet because we then switch to Beth. And Beth does some talking to Dr. McNider through the goggles again. She comes to realize that the goggles that she does have are his original set of goggles, and he's got like the 2.0 version or whatever the most recent version is that he made before he disappeared. And we find out he's in the Shadowlands. And the goggles are interfacing with each other sometimes when they get into when he gets to a spot in the Shadowland where he can kind of bridge the dimensions.
Yeah.
And he had asked her where she got the goggles, and she half lied and said, "I found them." And it actually says on her screen, "Half lie detected."
Yeah, partial lie detected.
Partial lie detected, which means he knows it's a half-truth. In actuality, she talked her way into Courtney's room and then found them in Courtney's room and tried them on and basically took on the role of Dr. Midnight.
But an easier answer that would have been more truthful is to just say she got them from Stargirl. That would have been...
Still would have been a half-truth because
I think that was
Stargirl didn't involuntarily give them to her originally.
Oh, no, she doesn't say they were given to her. She said, I got them from.
Yeah.
It doesn't indicate whether you stole them or you borrowed them or they were gifted or whatever. You got them
or
from her.
She could have said, I got them from the Justice Society, too. Not specifying it's the new or the old.
Yeah. But yeah, she has a conversation with her parents where they're telling her that they're ready to talk about why they're getting divorced, and they literally tell her that, you know, in more words, they're getting divorced because of Beth. She took up so much of their time and attention that they lost track of each other, and then Beth's the reason why they're getting divorced.
This is what she's hearing. That's not necessarily what they're saying, because you come to find out later in the episode that they never had this conversation.
Yeah.
Beth.
Yeah, the conversation was an illusion.
It was an Eclipso illusion. This is where we find out the true mettle of Beth too, because of the whole show. The one person who's able to break Eclipso's hold is Beth.
Yeah.
When she later on in the episode admits to herself and to Eclipso at the same time that she chose to be Dr. Midnight, that she took that for herself. Nobody gave it to her. Nobody thinks her as the weakest member of the group. None of that. She took ownership of it herself. And then she put the goggles on, and the goggles can see through the illusion. But it was her strength of will that allowed her to get to the point where she could put those goggles on and break out of Eclipso's spell. So it shows that, among other things, Beth is going to be one of the keys to beating Eclipso. Because she is shown even more powerful than Courtney or Rick or Yolanda or Pat. She is shown, or even the Shade, she has shown the ability to resist Eclipso's illusions. And that's going to become vital. Next, we see in the woods, and I think I blinked through and missed like maybe 5 minutes of this, but then there's a child that's dead in the woods, and Rick thinks that Solomon Grundy killed the little girl. And so
before he finds the girl, he runs into a couple of hunters in the woods that are, one of them's hurt and the other one's helping the other, and they're like, there was a creature, they said it's a bear, but it's not really a bear, and it's got a girl that he took from a farm or something like that. And he's like, don't you hurt him! And they're like, wait, you know what that thing is? And he takes off running after Grundy.
And that was my 5-minute blink.
And when he finds
the little girl.
And when he finds Grundy, or thinks he finds Grundy, Grundy's hands are bloody, and there's a dead body in the lake.
He starts yelling.
This all is an illusion.
He starts yelling at Grundy and beating the total crap out of him. He flips the hourglass over, gets his hour of power, and he just starts tossing Grundy around like he doesn't weigh shit. I mean, is he powerful at this point? Because the anger in him has intensified his strength like tenfold. He is just like flipping him around and stuff. Or so it appears. And Courtney and Pat, they find the little girl's body, but then actually see it fade as an illusion. And they're like, oh no. And they go hunt down Rick, and he's at his farm, and he's beating the crap out of what he thinks is Grundy. And they yell, Rick, no, it's not Solomon Grundy. And then the next time we look at where he had thrown Solomon Grundy so hard against the pickup truck, we don't see Solomon Grundy leaning against the pickup truck. We see his fucking uncle.
Yeah.
And his uncle is barely alive. As in, at first we think he might even be dead.
Yeah.
And then
I thought he was dead for a little bit.
Yeah, so did I. And then Rick slams the hourglass on the ground, breaking it, releasing the hour particle that his father had developed. And next scene, you see him getting in the back of a squad car.
Like his uncle said would happen.
Yep. And then we go to Mike and Catherine. And Mike is like, how can we help them? And Catherine is like, we just got to be there for them. And Mike is like, no, we got to beat Eclipso. That's how we got to beat him. That's how we help him. We stop Eclipso.
That's how we help him, yeah.
Because Mike is pretty dedicated. For having no powers himself right now, Mike is like one of the most dedicated when it comes to wanting to beat Eclipso. Because he sees past it all without being blinded by powers. He doesn't have powers himself. He's envious of and wants powers or a robot or something to call his own. But overall, he sees clearly enough to realize that no matter what's going on.
Did you catch after that line or whatever, and the camera kind of was pulling away out there through their window? Their window started frosting over with ice, and then icicles coming down from the side of their house. So it looks like one of the ice-powered people is watching them or something.
Somebody from Icicle's clan is going to be involved here.
Yeah, we don't see any people, but we see the ice building up like that.
And we don't know if it's the one good Icicle member or if it's the grandparents. And that's the thing, because if it's the good Icicle member, the reveal could turn him bad, but I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be one of those that overreacts and goes bad. I think he's going to be one of those rare individuals that sees beyond, because that's kind of how the character is being written so far. Is I think he's going to accept Courtney once Courtney finally gets to the point where she trusts him enough to tell him what's going on. But it's going to take a while before they trust him to do that. Courtney kind of does now, but everybody else has kind of shouted her down so she won't do it. And of course, Cindy was hoping to get him recruited, but that didn't work because he's too good at heart. He's not Superman naive good. He's good while being realistic enough to realize that sometimes good people even have done bad things. And so he's not going to blame
this
Courtney
week's Stargirl in a nutshell.
Yeah. Now the next one is a big epic what if. Oh my God! And I didn't even change.
Man.
I didn't even change to the Stargirl image, but that's okay because it's technically CW. But we do have the what if, and what if this week? Oh my God! It was one of the most epic what ifs. What if Ultron had won?
So I want to mention real quick after this afternoon, after I saw it and everything, I called up my buddy Angel this afternoon and was like, "Hey, have you seen the new What If?" He's like, "Yeah, that Thor episode was great." And I was like, "No, the one after the Thor episode. What is it?" He's like, and I was like, "And it's this episode is What If Ultron won?" And I was like, "Listen, I'll admit, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this as an idea, but the episode was insane. Go watch it now." Then call me back when you're done, because we got to talk about this episode.
You have to have somebody to talk about. Yeah. Let's give him something to talk about, as the song goes. Oh, my God. Okay. So we open the episode with Ultron already having won most of Earth. In fact, it looks like the only two people still alive that we've really seen is Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye.
Clint Barton with a mechanical arm.
Yeah, with Hawkeye with fucking Winter Soldier's type arm.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye is badass in this because all of the Ultron drones are chasing Natasha, and he's felling one with every single arrow he shoots, man. He is like raining arrows down on these guys. And Clint Barton is showing his shit, boy. He's great. And he's done some electrified net force field arrows and all kinds of shit. And then they manage to kill all the drones because what they do is they have a 90-second window before they update their information to Ultron. So if you can kill them all before the 90 seconds is out, Ultron won't know where they are. Because they're going to their last refuge.
And I don't think that's just a normal thing. I think that's something to do with the trap that they have set. Like they have some sort of a thing that's shielding them, and it'll keep them shielded for up to 90 seconds.
I don't know. I think that's just how long it takes before an update goes through. Because of all the things that Ultron has to do. It takes 90 seconds before an upload goes through. Every 90 seconds they upload everything.
Maybe
it's just not. It's not continuous, but they get to their last refuge, which happens to be the secret Soviet libraries of the Kremlin, up in the frickin' the Russian castle, and so they're down there and they're looking for information on how to stop Ultron because this is the final depository of secrets in hard copy, not code. So Ultron can't just hack it.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, Ultron is like, okay, he's defeated the whole world. Then he goes on to start defeating the different planets of the galaxy. And, I mean, he beats Asgard, and he beats Nowhere, and he beats the Skrull, and he beats
Xandar,
and fucking Captain Marvel shows up and tries to kick his ass, and he's like, "Yeah, you're done."
Oh, he also defeats Thanos and takes the Infinity Stones from him.
Yeah, he ends up cutting Thanos in half in one attack, and then just takes the Infinity Stones, incorporates them into the parts of his body, and supercharges them, so he gets his helmet that makes him look like a fucking Celestial. He does too. He's a total image of of the Justicar Celestial. He totally looks like the Justicar. And isn't he? Didn't he remind you of the Justicar? The one Celestial with the 6-eyed helmet.
I get it now that you mention it. I didn't think of it at the time. I was just thinking, so Ultron is wearing a suit made of his old body.
Yeah. But then...
Because he has the Vision body. He has his mind in the Vision body, but then he wears a regular Ultron body on top of the Vision body like a suit of armor.
Right, because of course, one of the ways that he defeated Ultron was to take the incubation pod that would have turned Ultron into a sentient body, and we made Vision there instead. But in this case, Vision didn't come out, so Ultron looks like Vision wearing Ultron. But he wears Ultron, his helmet is modified to look like the Justicar Sentinel. Then he's defeated the whole galaxy, and then he's kind of sitting there depressed because there's nothing else for him to do. He's a program without a function. But then the Watcher, Nawatu, is there narrating as he likes to do, and he looks up. What? Because he can suddenly hear Nawatu. And
he's Nawatu, like, who said that?
and Nawatu's like, oh crap, I did not seen this before. And so he starts to try to break through the dimensional barrier between the pseudo-reality of Earth and the regular universe and the multi-dimensional shard that Uatu dwells in that overlaps so that he's invisible and intangible, basically like the ethereal plane in Dungeons and Dragons. But he tries to shatter through so that he can attack Uatu. And he ends up breaking through and starting to go through the multiverse one after one after one and taking over every different subset of the multiverse. So the multiverse is going to... And Uatu's like, oh crap. And he's like going in and he's down there and he comes to the Kremlin and there's Bart and Natasha going through the records and Bart's giving up. And he's there saying, no, you're so close. Just one crate over is the answer. You can do it. He's like the ultimate cheerleader without jumping in and showing him where it is because he's sworn an oath not to intervene. And eventually he has to break his oath and he consults the Dark Doctor Strange.
That's the very, very last scene. That's the very end of the show.
Yeah, because the Dark Doctor Strange is there because he put himself outside the rest of the multiverse when he broke away from his other half in the same what if of like 3 what ifs ago. And we knew we were going to see this Doctor Strange again. They told us we would see him again. And this is at least once. Yes, they did. Well, this is at least the first time.
Ultron literally shatters through the barrier and straight up attacks Uatu. And they have an epic battle that breaks through multiple universes.
Yep.
They're even at a point where they're like in the streets of like what looks like New York or something, I don't know, in a city street. And like every time there's a punch that makes contact,
they break through a few multiverses, And so it is crazy. And then he finally calls on Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like, yep, so are you going to do it? And it's like, and Uatu's like, you're going to make me say it, aren't you? It's like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And so he's like, I need your help. And Uatu asking anybody for help is like mind-blowing. Because he's always sworn to be separate and aloof, to record but never intervene. And so, but then Bart and Natasha do find the right crate, and they go through, and what it ends up being is that one Russian scientist that had his brain uploaded into the Russian computers that we saw in one of the earlier Avengers episodes. And they figure as a
Avengers episodes, he was in the first Captain America movie, and then he was in the second Captain America movie.
Right. Well,
he was in Civil War, or he was in not Civil War. He was in Winter Soldier.
As far as I'm concerned, all the Captain America movies are just Avengers movies. Because, among other things, the first one is called Captain America: The First Avenger. So really, you introduce the Avengers there, even though they don't bring the team together yet. But anyway, he's brought in, and because he's a freestanding AI, even though he's super primitive, in one way he's super primitive. He's on super primitive hardware, but because he's an actual living consciousness that transferred into that, he's more complex than any other computer AI out, because he's based on a real life person. And so the idea is to infect him like a virus into Ultron in order to get him to stop Ultron. And so they load him into one of Bart's arrows, because he's the last remaining copy. And this basically, then they destroy the computer that he was in. So he's still the last remaining copy, but he's now in this arrow. And they shoot one of the drones, and then they just basically have to keep the drone going long enough for it to hook back into Ultron, which takes, like I said, 90 seconds. However, when the 90-second mark hits, he can't upload, because at this point in time, Ultron is outside of the known universe. So he's just a little bit out of range.
Yeah. He's like, it's very curious. This Ultron network is configured to span the entire universe.
For interstellar travel,
Ultron. Yeah, interstellar range. And then she's like, and why could you find him? Well, the only answer then would be, he's not in this universe. And Widow's like, then where the hell is he?
And at this time, he's fighting Uatu. And
he's fighting Uatu in these other dimensions, other universes. And Clint sacrifices himself to save Widow and get the Zoloft Ultron drone, out to safety or whatever, get them range.
And Bart's last quote,
if you recognize it, the tunnel. What's that?
If you recognize, it's just like when Widow sacrifices herself in Endgame. But his last quote is to say, "I told you, Natasha, I'm just plain tired. I can't keep fighting." But then he falls, and during his whole fall, he's still freaking shooting arrows the whole time. So he's still fucking fighting.
I mean, he's got a few more seconds in him.
Yeah, he says, I can't keep fighting, but at the same time, he's like, and so he's fighting like shit.
Yeah. He fires this one arrow that blasts this huge explosive that blows them all away.
Yep.
And they're in that tunnel, because this scene is taking place in, what was that, Siberia? From Captain America: Civil War, where the other Winter Soldiers were being stored.
Right, in the silo right next to it, in the attached lab.
Yeah. That's what they're fighting their way out to escape through, is that silo. This was an insane episode, and then Uatu getting that, the Strange, what do they call him?
The evil
Supreme
Strange,
or whatever, the Darker Doctor Strange.
Dark Doctor Strange, is that what I call
the evil-ish Doctor Strange.
And that was literally the last scene of the episode, is him asking for Doctor Strange's help, and then they cut to start rolling the credits. So
Yeah.
That's how they ended it. This is by far probably the most intense, world-shattering or multiverse-shattering episode of What If that could possibly happen. It's going to be hard to top, that's for sure, because you just don't challenge Uatu. That just don't happen.
Yeah, and this was the Ultron. The Ultron we had here was the one that appeared at the very end of the previous episode with Thor.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the very last shot of that was Thor or Ultron showing up to confront Thor on Earth.
Which means you could link it in and see that's why Ultron won, is because Thor was never an Avenger, which changed the whole makeup of the Avengers.
It was a different universe. I think this was the Ultron. This was after Ultron jumped universes and jumped to this different universe with this version of Thor. So,
but it was one of the first.
And that's part of what got Uatu so surprised. What's that?
It's the first What If to link them.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our media coverage for the week. We had 3 brand new episodes of Doom Patrol show up last week. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to watch them through and stay awake. We had another Teen Titan. I haven't even started. I'm getting a little overwhelmed. We've got Venom Carnage coming up this week. We've got Adam's Family 2 coming up this week. What have we got? The Sages of Newark coming out or came out just recently. We've got so much coming up in the next few weeks that we're going to have to be picky and choosy about what we do cover. I mean, trust us, as long as they keep playing it, we're going to cover Supergirl and Stargirl and What If. Those we will cover every week. As long as they have an episode, we will cover it, but we don't know what sabbaticals are going to come in. Because it's far enough along in What If and Stargirl that they might be due for a short sabbatical. 1 or 2 weeks off. But they haven't done it yet.
Oops.
They haven't announced anything yet, so we'll see. But we've got so much going on. I really want to see Carnage before next week's show. It is one of my goals. I did not get to see Shang-Chi. And in fact, I almost did a flashback recommendation specifically in the martial arts genre just to honor Shang-Chi. But I changed my mind.
I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't know if I've told you or if you noticed, but Shang-Chi will be on Disney Plus on November 12th.
Yeah, and I'm
it was supposed to come out
45 days.
I think it was supposed to come out in late October. Like originally, it was scheduled to come out 45 days after the theatrical release, but then they delayed it by a couple of weeks because they wanted to release it on the 1-year anniversary of the Disney Plus service.
That's not really that much of a delay, though, because 45 days, it came out on the 12th of September. So 30 days would have been roughly October 12th, give or take a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then 15 more days.
So it would have been like October. Yeah, so it would have been around October.
It would have been right around November
27th.
It would have been right around somewhere around November 1st, give or take a few days. And so they didn't delay it by much. They delayed it like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. But
I say they delayed it by about 2 weeks to make it part of their. They're putting out a lot of things all in one day, that very specific day, to be a celebration of 1 year of Disney Plus.
Right. Now, we've got so much coming out, and we're going to briefly mention a few things, and then we're gonna get out of here for the week. The Eternals are coming. Spider-Man No Way Home is coming. These are the things.
Yeah, November, then December.
Just coming in this year. We've got the Eternals. We've got Spider-Man. We've got Carnage. We've got Dune, which I'm not a fan of Dune, the books, but they are considered one of the seminal cornerstone novel series in science fiction.
I've never read the Dune book or books. I don't know if it's plural or not, and I've never seen any of the Dune movies.
It's quite plural.
Okay. Yeah, I have no familiarity with Dune other than I know that it's a popular sci-fi from a long time ago.
1969.
Quote unquote long time ago. I don't know how long ago.
1960, I think it was 9 is when it was published.
Okay.
67, 69, something like that. It was Frank Herbert. Me personally, I'm not a Frank Herbert fan. I get shit about that sometimes, just like I'm not a Robert Jordan fan. I can't get through the Wheel of Time. I actually read all the Dune books that were written by Herbert himself, not the ones that his son continued with, but the original 5 books.
So I take it you're not planning on covering the Wheel of Time on our show when the TV series comes out?
I do plan on watching it. Maybe it'll be easier to watch than it is to read.
Yeah.
Because I do plan on watching it.
Squirrel was asking about being on the show to talk about Wheel of Time because she loves Wheel of Time. It's her favorite book series.
Hey, I welcome an extra guest.
And she was asking about. Okay. After the pilot episode comes out, maybe we should have her on and
the first
let her talk about the Wheel of Time a little bit.
The first 3 episodes are all supposed to premiere on the same day, I think.
Okay.
But
that's even better.
Right, and so she could come. I mean, hey, we had Angel on for the Godzilla vs. Kong episode. So,
Yep, that was a good one. That was good.
That was a great guest star. Great guest star. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And so Squirrel is more than welcome. We're looking forward to having some additional guest stars on this show every once in a while. And you guys could just share the same cam.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I might pull it out a little bit and have her sit next to me. Maybe we'll split it. Maybe we'll set up on the couch or something.
Yep. Just hook up a tandem microphone or headset, and you can both be there. Anyway, those are the things some of the things that are immediately coming up. I mean, there's some others. I've heard talk about a Muppet Haunted House movie that's coming soon. I think.
About me summoned me.
All
this talking about me summoned me.
Oh, I was talking about you joining us for Wheel of Time. Okay.
For Wheel of Time, yes.
Squirrel just stepped in the room and said, Yeah, she's like, this talk of me has summoned me.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
All right.
Yes, tell her she's more than welcome to help us with Wheel of Time. And that's just this year. I'm sure there's ones I'm not mentioning. I mean, for instance, Fantastic Beasts was supposed to come out on Thanksgiving time, but we have not heard a word about it recently. So I don't know if it's getting delayed or if they're just going to hit us like a steamroller come November 1st and say, hey, 3 weeks down the line we're going to have it, or what. But traditionally, Harry Potter releases have always been Thanksgiving releases.
Yeah.
They make that a tradition, so if we don't get it this Thanksgiving, they're either going to have to break from tradition or wait until Thanksgiving 2022 to come out. And I don't think they want to wait that long. So we've got that to look forward to. We've got so many other things to look forward to coming out in the next beginning of the year. We've got Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness in March.
Yeah.
We've got.
All right. I'm gonna have to wrap up. I got work I have to do.
Okay, and stuff. Anyway, you can catch Lurch over there at Left Claw Studios. They're still not really doing regular scheduled stuff right now, but hopefully soon. If nothing else, by the at the beginning of the year, we'll be back to more regular schedules, I think, for all of us, if not sooner. So you can see him at Left Claw Studios.
Get a girlfriend aggro. Give me my boyfriend back.
You get a boyfriend? Boyfriend time?
Well, first I got to do stuff for work, and then you can have some boyfriend time.
So you can when he's not busy with Squirrel, he can be reached at Left Claw Studios or at Lurchland at Facebook. I'm at Gamer Seuss here, this very channel where we've decided to save on resources and only broadcast to the one channel and then host on the others from this point forward for a little while at least. So you can catch us here every week from 8 to 10 o'clock plus for our show. I'm here every week that we broadcast because I host the actual main platform. And then usually Lurch is with me, and then Greg is with me most of the time. And every once in a while we can look forward to special guests. You can find old episodes on my YouTube channel. Just look up Gamer Seuss and then go to the Game Time list. And as always, my channel is dedicated to Extra Life, part of the Children's Miracle Network. And our entire show and our entire organization is dedicated to the education behind the nerdy hobbies. We'll see you next week, and you guys have a good day.
See ya.
Bye now.
Bye.